We need to discuss the Dr. Phil and Danielle Bregoli situation. This topic is going to take us down a very deep rabbit hole, with the severity being greater than you would expect, going way beyond these two individuals. We will be diving into the issues of the troubled teen industry and why programs like Turnabout Ranch and even places like Provo Canyon, which is the school that Paris Hilton was sent to, will likely harm more children than help. This may be one of the most important videos I have worked on in a very long time, because this issue needs as many voices as it can get.
So for those of you who don't know, Danielle Bregoli, rather known as Bhad Bhabie online, was featured in an episode of Dr. Phil where she is most known for her "Catch Me Outside" line.
Catch me outside, how about that?
Danielle appeared to be an extremely troubled young girl on the show, and Dr. Phil suggested sending her to Turnabout Ranch, which is a facility he claims to be heavily invested in, at least when it's perceived well by the public eye. More on that later, though. It also appears to be a school that helps teens get back on the right track by teaching them how to take care of animals, using teamwork, and giving teens responsibilities. When Danielle departed from the ranch, they even made this little promo video showcasing how much the program has helped her.
Danny went from being this little tough girl to being just a normal kid. A lot of people didn't think she could do it, and she proved them all wrong.
So what could possibly go wrong?
I thought there was no way that I could ever survive here.
Now, Dr. Phil has made a huge increase in views and monetization from Danielle Bregoli's scene on that show. It has gotten Dr. Phil so much attention that if you go onto his YouTube channel, it is one of the top viewed videos on his platform. Turnabout Ranch became so popular through Dr. Phil's show that it even became a meme.
Send her to the ranch. Send her to the ranch. Send her to the ranch.
The ranch. That's right, you're going to the ranch. You're going to the ranch. You're going to the ranch, boy.
Just throwing a note in here, I don't blame PewDiePie or anybody else who memed about the ranch a few years ago, because it wasn't common knowledge that these places were really horrible, especially when you have people like Dr. Phil hyping these places up and making them look enjoyable and wonderful.
The Turnabout Ranch seems awesome, okay? I would love to go to the Turnabout Ranch. What's so bad about the ranch?
Most people won't understand why these places are so bad. It wasn't until recently that enough people started speaking out about places like this that it started to change the public perception. After another girl had spoken out about Turnabout Ranch, Danielle decided to use her platform to speak out against it also. Recently, a young woman named Hannah spoke out against Turnabout Ranch, claiming that she was assaulted during her stay there in 2019, not once, but twice. In an article written by Haley Higgins, Hannah was a 17-year-old when she was brought to the ranch in October of 2019 after appearing on the Dr. Phil show. She claimed she was assaulted by a male staff member 10 days after she arrived, but did not report the incident because of fear of retaliation, according to the lawsuit. 1 month later, Hannah alleges a second assault by the same staff member and reported the incident to a female staff member. She claims she was called a liar, but told to write a detailed letter in her report. According to the lawsuit, Hannah faced immediate retaliation and punishment for writing the letter, including being forced to face a wall or shovel manure for hours, left outside in freezing temperatures, and forced to sleep on a wooden plank, among other vindictive actions. Hannah adds that she was also verbally abused as being weak, manipulative, pathetic, and stupid. I will be sure to leave this article in the description of my video in case you would like to check out the entire thing, but that is just the gist of what had happened here. After this incident began picking up in headlines, Bhad Bhabie decided to come out with her own statement about Turnabout Ranch and the Dr. Phil show. She talked about how she was humiliated on the show when she was younger, how people in the crowd were saying disgusting things to her, and how the woman backstage was telling her to play up her emotions to make it a good show.
You know the shit I was hearing in the crowd? So for you to tell me I can't say something back to people who are saying something to me? Second of all, the fucking lady who runs the show said to me, oh, when you get up there, do whatever you feel like will make a good show. Kick, scream, punch.
Her appearance on this show also gave her a really negative reputation. While she was away at Turnabout Ranch, she had no idea that she had become so infamous in what seems to be overnight. When she got out of the program, she had thousands upon thousands of people displaying their disgust for her online because of her episode on Dr. Phil. Which, granted, she did seem to have a lot of behavioral issues and definitely did seem like she needed help. But let's not forget that she was a literal child at this point. mind, who desperately needed guidance and adults to point her in the right direction, not an abusive program that was going to take advantage of her and her family's vulnerability. Also, if she was told to amplify her emotions on this show for the camera, that would look worse for the adults involved than Danielle. And now, years later, just days after Danielle started an OnlyFans after her 18th birthday, we have grown-ass men coming out of the woodwork saying they've been waiting for this day to come since she was 13. We have this poor girl that was taken in a vulnerable moment, thrown into the public spotlight by Dr. Phil, and now has to deal with this for the rest of her life, on top of the trauma she has gone through from Turnabout Ranch. Danielle also called Dr. Phil out on sending so many of these kids to Turnabout Ranch along with herself and demanded an apology from him.
So, I am going to give you from now till April 5th to issue an apology, not only to me, but to Hannah and any other child that you sent to Turnabout or any other program like this, and if you don't, I'm gonna handle things my way.
To which he responded by saying he had very little involvement with Turnabout Ranch, that once the kids go off to the ranch, it's now in their hands.
But in Bhad Bhabie's response to Dr. Phil, she mentioned that not only was he involved, but he also received special reports and updates from Turnabout Ranch on Danielle's progress while she was there.
My mother signed a consent of release of information to send progress reports directly from Turnabout to the Dr. Phil show. So when you say you don't have any fucking feedback from them, that is not true.
Bhad Bhabie, or Danielle, went on to describe how she was treated at this facility and how she was afraid that she wouldn't make it out alive.
Took in there against my will. They give you transporters. Transporters are two people, a male and a female, that come in the middle of the night. They don't tell them where they're going. They just take them, they handcuff them, they put them in the car. It's basically like kidnapping. We got there, I got out of the car, and I just seen it looked like nothing. It was just, for the first 3 days you're there, it's no showering. They put you in a circle, which is it's a teepee. It's a little teepee, but it's open, and you have to sit there for 3 days. They wouldn't let me lay down for nothing. Like, I was falling asleep, and they were like, get up. So I'm just sitting here. Like, they strip you from your whole personality. You have to act like just whoever they want you to act like. This place is all about taking away privileges. Like, okay, yeah, the phone is a privilege, TV, like all that. But they take away like necessity privileges, like sleeping on a bed, eating good food, not being cold. If you reported another kid like getting bullied by like their peers or something, they would just say, well, maybe that's what they need, or like something like that. They had no problem holding kids down, which is against the law. You're not supposed to touch the kids, but they had no problem doing that. You walk in the arena for hours on end. You sit outside in the cold on the floor. You have to pick up piles in a wheelbarrow of horse shit, and they want big piles. So if you have to do 25 piles, you're really doing like 50 wheelbarrows.
And what's funny is this was even stated in her promotional video for the ranch.
I thought there was no way that I could ever survive here.
These are supposed to be the best clips that you splice and paste together, and this is what you keep in? Sadly, Turnabout Ranch isn't the only place that has been accused of treating their children this way. Turnabout Ranch isn't the only place that Dr. Phil has sent troubled teens to either. He's also sent a few people to Provo Canyon School, which has been very notorious since Paris Hilton's documentary, where she explains how her experience in that school was absolutely horrific. I am going to be doing a much more in-depth video on that specific school because there is so much to cover on that one alone, but it is arguably one of the worst troubled teen facilities in the United States. We have multiple troubled teen industries that Dr. Phil has worked with, and he is now attempting to make it seem like he hasn't had much involvement with them at all. And the fact that Dr. Phil was promoting this along with Turnabout Ranch makes me sick. Now, here's the thing about the troubled teen industry that we really need to bring awareness to. There are a plethora of these programs throughout the entire United States. A website called Breaking Code Silence does a fantastic job at educating those who would like to learn more about the truth on these terrible facilities that thousands upon thousands of children are sent to every year. The troubled teen industry is a largely profitable industry where tons of unregulated and inexperienced facilities, quote-unquote, treat children that may deal with psychiatric disorders, trauma, behavioral or family issues, and sometimes even just for being in the LGBTQ+ community. Instead of having experienced doctors and staff assisting these children with their issues, many of the facilities send 2 or more adults to the house of this troubled child in the middle of the night. They drag the child out of bed, sometimes handcuffing them. They put them in a car and drive off. The child has no sense of where they are and where they are going, and are oftentimes even boarded on a plane and sent across the country to attend one of these programs. When they arrive at the facility, they are given a quote-unquote tough love approach to try and quote fix them. The children are verbally, mentally, and sometimes physically abused. This is done with the idea that somehow degrading a child and breaking them down to their lowest possible mental point will make them change and be better. But many children just end up with more issues than they had when they arrived. Some facilities force children to do manual labor, while other facilities force children to stand and stare at a blank wall for 24 hours straight, and if they fall over or pass out, they have to start over again. Some programs force children to sleep in dog kennels or pitch black solitary confined rooms with no windows or furniture, just concrete floors. There have even been reports of some children being forced to eat their own vomit. Other programs were accused of starting fight clubs by staff. Some programs had staff inject sedatives into children as punishment, causing them to pass out and even sometimes causing allergic reactions. There have been countless reports of physical and sexual abuse as well as neglect. There have even been reports of children dying at some of these facilities, at least 145 according to Breaking Code Silence. And yet over 50,000 children are sent to these facilities every year.
A lot of these teens that are sent to these facilities have mental health issues that need to be evaluated properly and addressed properly, but instead, once they get into these facilities, they're just physically and mentally abused and put into a situation where the only thing they know how to do is comply, and if they don't comply, they get punished. And essentially what they do is brainwash them. And what's extremely alarming is that many of these teens end up coming out of these programs with more mental health issues than they had when they went in. And that is absolutely insane to me, not only because it shows that they're not working as they say they should be, but also the fact that they're doing more harm than good.
Believe it or not, these practices actually originated from a cult called Synanon. Synanon created a therapy called The Game, where they would do exactly what these facilities are doing today, ganging up on people and humiliating them, abusing them, and breaking them down mentally. And this was supposed to allow them to, quote, grow and become better people. Synanon was eventually dubbed to be one of the most dangerous cults in the United States. After several hospitalizations, severe mental trauma, and lots of chaos, the cult eventually disbanded. Some, however, took the practices of this cult and used them when forming their own programs, and this is where the troubled teen industry began. So why do these programs continue if they're not helping kids? One word: money. It doesn't matter if these facilities are causing children to leave with more trauma than what they had when they arrived. It doesn't matter that most of these children still end up having mental health issues or struggling after they had left the program, because the goal isn't to help these children like many of the people in charge claim. No, the goal is money. They will take advantage of a child's needs and take advantage of a parent's desperation and ignorance for the sake of making a profit. And yet by doing so, that child's life and well-being could be put at risk.
There are so many people who have recently been advocating against these programs. There are hundreds upon hundreds of thousands of people who have been traumatized by these programs that their parents have put them into, unknowing to what actually goes on in these programs.
With that being said, if you are a parent thinking about sending your child to one of these schools, please please reconsider. There are over 1,000 schools like this all over the United States. Please do your research into any programs that you might be signing your child up for. As for Turnabout Ranch, sadly, this is just one of many schools who do these disgusting things to children. Danielle mentioned how she experienced and witnessed abuse at Turnabout, but since they take away your personal belongings, you have no way of proving what happens to you. She also states that the staff takes advantage of the fact that it will never be likely that a troubled teen is believed over an adult staff member in a situation where there is no evidence.
It's just our word against the staff's word when you're there, because there's no witnesses, there's no cameras, you don't have a phone, there's none of that. That's why I was always so scared to speak out, because it's like no one's gonna believe me.
I truly hope that Danielle and anybody else who has been put in facilities like Turnabout Ranch finds healing and peace in their lives. I hope that she and anybody else put in these programs are able to overcome the trauma that they have been put through, and I truly hope that in the near future, places like this are shut down so no more children can be hurt by them. And lastly, Dr. Phil should be ashamed of himself for not only being associated with places like Turnabout, but then lying about it to escape criticism and backlash from the public. His most popular videos are ones about Danielle, and even after having her sent to Turnabout, where she experienced and witnessed abuse and neglect, he is still greatly benefiting from her presence on his show. He appears to show no remorse, no sympathy, and only chooses to belittle her in the media to this day. After Danielle demanded an apology, Dr. Phil responded by pointing out only negative things about her, yet none of her achievements or accomplishments after all of these years. I guess him being a doctor isn't the only thing he has misled the public on. Once again, I highly implore you, if you are a parent considering sending one of your children to a facility that is involved in the troubled teen industry, to reconsider. There are so many risks, and there are so much about these programs that truly deserve to have them shut down, and no child deserves to be put through these things. If you've made it all the way to the end of this video, thank you very, very much. I hope that this wasn't too dark of a subject. I will be covering the Provo Canyon School eventually. Thank you so very much for watching. Especially thank you to all of my supporters over on Patreon, especially Lewis, Miss Tanisha, Tressel, Anthony, and Michelle. You guys are amazing. I appreciate it from the bottom of my heart, and I will see you later.